I'm Chelmsford Town Manager Paul Cohen, and welcome to the January 2018 edition of the Town Managers Roundtable. Once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Colleen Stansfield, and this month's guest is Lisa Marrone, the Town of Chelmsford's first Director of Business Development. So, Lisa, welcome to the Town of Chelmsford.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank
You've been
you so
here
much.
all of about, what, a little over a week as we're taping this
4
program?
days, actually.
4 days, yeah, that's
4
right.
working days.
She did lose days from the snow days.
Oh, the snow day, that's
and
correct.
so
Yep.
forth.
4 working days, yeah.
So welcome
So
to the
great.
community, and
Thank
I think
you.
probably the best way to get started is tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, great.
Who is Lisa Marrone? Your background and that type of thing.
Okay, sure, yep. So I am originally born and raised in the city of Leominster, and lived all my life there. So just most recently, I had worked there for 11 years as Economic Development Coordinator. And prior to that, I worked 10 years at MIT Lincoln Laboratory in the missile defense sector.
That means you can't tell us about that work?
That's right. I got top secret clearance. It's true. It's true.
Okay.
I was a business manager there, so really interesting work. And during my tenure there, I was able to go to school through their tuition assistance program. So I went to school at night, and I worked full-time during the day. And that worked out great for a number of years. Obviously, I was there 10 years, but it was time to move on. And I ended up working for the city that I grew up in, so that was a great experience as well. But I'm happy to be here in Chelmsford. And
So about your education, you touched upon it.
Yeah.
You've got a master's degree, right? Fitchburg State?
I do. So I just finished that last year. It was always a goal of mine to earn that, but being an adult college student is a little bit of a long, slow road, so you got to keep working at it. And I just finished my master's in business administration last year. I graduated with a 3.9, so it's different when you do it as an adult and you take it seriously and you really apply yourself, and it's important. So.
And did they help you through all of the education that you went through?
They did. I did it. So online, it was my only online learning experience for college. So it's a bit intimidating, but the resources are incredibly amazing. And so you could just call the help desk and they get you through it, but they provide all the software, and I do encourage people to give online learning a try. You think that you're just looking at a computer screen, but there's a lot of interaction, and I was working with students that were all across the country, classmates that were even overseas, and so you get to meet a lot of people that you would never meet otherwise, and professors are very engaging and encouraging, and you do. I did take a hybrid course where you go into the college once a month, and you meet with your classmates, and then you do your coursework outside of that. So I did enjoy the experience. It is intimidating, but
My son is
you
doing
gotta
something.
push yourself out there a little bit and learn
he's doing
and grow.
in between something or other, so he's doing most of it online, but he's going into class 3 of the days.
Right.
And so far he's loving it.
Yeah,
so
it's great. You get enough independent time so that you can schedule your workload, but you do get that social interaction and that support structure as you're learning something new, which is challenging to learn new things. But
learning new things. What do you think of Chelmsford so far?
Great segue.
I know it's only been a few days, but what's your first impressions?
It's a great community. It's very exciting to me to be a part of it. And just when I arrive in town, from what I'm used to in city of Leominster, when you come into Chelmsford, it's a quaint New England feel to the community, and the architecture there is just so beautiful. But the major highways, it's so accessible there with all of the intersection of the major highways. But what I find interesting is that the traffic flows through, considering Route 3 and 495 and all those, but the traffic's moving.
So you haven't been here a day when there's an accident on Route 3
no,
yet.
I haven't, not yet. Not the first
And
4
everybody
days,
gets
I
off the
have
highway.
not.
I guess
They all
they call it
start
the
diverting.
honeymoon period.
Yeah.
At some point you'll be
Perhaps.
cursing the traffic in the center of town.
Perhaps, but I do have to kind of use my map to get around town. So it's an adventure. Each time I head out, it's a little adventure. But everyone's been very welcoming and very friendly and helpful.
Now, you spent 11 years in Leominster. Tell us a little about your experience there in terms of, because it's a long time.
Right, it is a long time. And it's interesting to work for the community that you grew up in. So I remember, I won't say how old I am, but I do remember
You just graduated college.
Right. We'll go with that.
Go with that.
I like that. So, I do remember the changing of properties and developments and things that happen like that. So it ends up being like second nature. So it's not as challenging to be out in the community where you're going out there and you're seeing work and projects and things that are happening. But when you come to a town like Chelmsford, you're out there with a whole other view and an eagerness to meet the business owners, the property owners, and learn about what these challenges are so that I can reach back into my resources of what I used in Leominster, which was a lot of different programming through Mass Office of Business Development or Mass Development. I worked closely with the Chamber, the Mass Smart Growth Alliance, the Office of the Workforce Development Office. Lots of resources out there, and sometimes you just have to know where to go because they're not pushing their programs at you. You have to be out there being the go-between and the coordinator. Businesses don't necessarily have time to, they're just facing their challenge and dealing with their issues, but to be that catalyst there to help move things along or keep communication open. So in Leominster, I had known a lot of the people, just growing up over time. So a lot of family members and a lot of generations that just kind of stay and get to know that. So there was that familiarity. But when you want to, grow your skill set, you got to kind of get out of your boundaries and you got to get a little uncomfortable and experience change a little bit. And that's kind of what I'm in right now is, I'm out of my comfort zone, well out of my comfort zone, but everyone's been very helpful and very resourceful. And I definitely am feeling like there's a great network around me of resources. I just need to start making the connections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you touched upon in Leominster, and it's sort of a segue, is you were involved with sort of an Alzheimer's park. Because I was fascinated by it. Yeah, if you could just tell us a little about that,
so
because it's always something that we don't have currently in Chelmsford. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I think
it's
gives
kind
some
of
good
a long
insights.
story,
That's okay. We have 20 minutes left.
Okay. That's great.
And people will go for another hour if you
We'll
want.
go another hour.
So through a process, I decided that I wanted to adopt a traffic island. My mom was struggling with some issues there, and we've always done flower gardens together all our lives. So I thought I'd adopt a traffic island, and I would either plant it myself or we'd do it together, and then that would be something that we could at least just drive by and look at. And just kind of reflect on that little project we did together, or if she couldn't handle it or not be able to, that it would be at least something we had in common that we could talk about and remember. And I was going to plant it all purple. Purple reflects Alzheimer's, but it's also a great color for annuals and perennials.
Yeah,
and,
there's a lot of purple out there.
There really is. So as I went out there to try to look at it, of course I want a high visibility traffic island, and there wasn't anything available. So that led to the suggestion that maybe you should think about adopting this pocket park, this corner park, which was severely neglected and very blighted. It was an eyesore. And nobody even knew the name of the park. It was just the corner of where two major roads meet. It's at the corner of Route 12 and 117, which is Lancaster Street and Central Street. And people just kind of like zip around the corner. There's like traffic lights and craziness happening. So you just the trees were diseased and dying. The fencing had fallen down and was rusted. There was a lot of problems going on in this park, and it's tiny. It's 1/10 of an acre. It's just like right at the corner. So
Well, the lot's in town.
Yeah.
they said, you know, maybe you should just adopt this park. And I thought, I couldn't say no. You know, I went from a little traffic island, putting some flowers together, to taking on a park project. And so I went back to the people that I had met with to try to get help from my mom 2 or 3 years ago, and they loved the idea. And I started getting sponsored services and private donations coming in. And it was just a very heartwarming, very personally touching project for me. But we ended up with the finished park has a unique sign. It's a column sign. It says Central Park on it. It's lit at night. And we were able to put in, through the Leominster DPW, which was extraordinary help from them. I couldn't do it without them, but we put in purple lighting at night, because I wanted solar lights to depict the sundowning struggles through the night for people with you know, Alzheimer's and dementia. So the purple lighting was important to me, but we ended up getting LED lighting that illuminates a retaining wall that kind of just reflects that purple light off of the whole back of the park. It illuminates purple. And it consumes 7 watts of power every night, same as a night light. It lights up the whole back of the park. But it's special lighting where you can change the color if you want to. You could make it, you know, red on Valentine's Day, or, you know, so it's kind of neat. So we leave it purple.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And then we were able to put in a perennial garden. Ended up being the decision in the end. So it's full of all different types of perennial flowers, primarily purple. But being the first year, you know, we planted it late. It didn't have time to take. But we tried to put in some purple annuals as well, purple petunias, and it tried to get going, but it was tough because of the timing of all of that, trying to rush it through. But there is an irrigation system in there, so as the landscaping gets established, it'll really flourish. We were also able to put in about 12 trees, believe it or not, maybe not that many, but it came from the Greening the Gateway program from the state. So there's an assortment of trees in there, and the pine trees actually produce little purple pine cones.
That's
If
great.
you look closely enough,
That's great.
it's pretty neat. And so once all of that took, and you know, the grass is in, all of that, we introduced a paving program. So you can buy a granite paver and have it custom engraved. And I ended up with about 40 stones in the park in the first year. So it can take up to 200 stones, and the stones are $100 a piece, and they're a good size. They're maybe a 8 by 11 granite piece, and you can put graphics, and people put hearts and all kinds of things, and some of the messages were just so touching. It's pretty interesting. It's just a little walkway through there. So what's left to do now is benching. You know, there's no benches in there, so we need seating and benching in there. So we were searching for sponsors, and I've got 2 sponsors. There's 2 more to go. And then the park will be mostly complete. And then we'll be working further to become a dementia-friendly community, because it's my hometown where my mom is, so we'll be doing that. There's a small team of us that have been meeting to prepare for that, and that happens through the Alzheimer's Association. So I've learned a lot, and I would be very interested to replicate it if there's opportunity here. It was very well received. We had a major sponsor, raised about $25,000 for it altogether. Maybe a little bit more. I just received $1,400 today from Fallon Community Health.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's
Congratulations.
really amazing. So,
What does it take to be an Alzheimer's community?
So the dementia-friendly community is
Oh, that's
separate.
what-
So the Alzheimer's awareness kind of started with the park, and just to make a visual notice and for people to come and be a part of that. We also received a very large stone from an organization called the Living Stone. So we haven't engraved that yet. I haven't decided what I want to engrave on there, but there's a very large stone in the center of the park. So that's more the Alzheimer's awareness. So the dementia-friendly will begin with a training module where businesses that want to participate could go to the city's website, possibly. We're working this part out, where if they could, it's a training module, kind of like when you do the conflict of interest training
Right.
online, it'd be similar to that. And they would learn about what the signs and symptoms are to recognize when someone seems to be not understanding or being confused, or if they're lost, or how to handle that without people being offended or,
Right.
or embarrassed, or you know,
The
how to be
dignity
appropriate
issue,
with
yeah.
it, the dignity of it and the respect of it. So it would be something for pharmacies or banks or the library or public places where they would just want to be more understanding and engaging with people that are struggling with dementia. Because it's tough, and it helps the families to know what to do as well. Yeah, and grandchildren that have grandparents, if they're younger and they're 5 or 8 years old or 10, and they can kind of see something's not right, they don't know what to do. So there's all types of segments that can be brought out further into the community to help them adapt to that. So it's important. I think it's important, and it's something that hasn't really come out far and wide yet. You know, the Alzheimer's Association is very involved and has been a great resource for it. But the dementia-friendly, there's a whole host of communities if you look at it. But we're working towards getting on that list.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
We're a tree community, correct?
Yeah, we are a tree community.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Well, they have that love, so they're Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah, we do have Johnny Appleseed.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
That's
okay.
above us?
That's about, well, it's Johnny from Leominster. I mean, that's like an historical,
Oh, right.
he's an historical
Johnny Appleseed thing.
figure in the
It's
community.
True.
I
That
was
is
not,
true.
I
And the
knew
pink
that
flamingo.
somewhere back.
Yeah.
And the pink flamingo.
The pink flamingo.
Yeah, the creator of the pink flamingo. So I'm sure there's amazing treasures about
Yeah,
Chelmsford.
that's right. And then you tried to call yourselves the Plastic City, right?
Yeah, I said,
Yeah.
no, please, we're trying to get rid of that.
Okay.
Pioneer Plastics.
Pioneer
Yeah,
Plastics,
we've been
right.
trying to shake that one off. So Leominster was a lot more than that. So they are working on a re-imaging.
Okay.
So I know that we've talked a lot about that in certain groups here. So.
And so as a segue to that, obviously,
Yeah.
we're doing a branding issue on the 129 corridor. in
Yes,
Chelmsford.
yes.
I don't know if you've been sort of briefed on that.
Yes.
It was a conscious decision, because Colleen knows as a town meeting attendee and such that, representative and such, that the big discussion of, do we wait till the business development director arrives, or we sort of get it going? And it has gotten going, but
Yeah.
Right.
you're here right in
And
time,
here I am.
because they're sort of now at the point where they're looking to develop a theme, a concept, and I think it was a Crossroads at 129, I think is sort of the, that type of
I heard that
notion.
coming out a little bit.
Exactly,
Yeah,
it's
I heard
coming
that
out.
mentioned a little
so your
bit.
timing was sort of, just I think as they envision, it would sort of converge with your arrival. So
Yeah.
you'll be very heavily
Very
engaged in
exciting.
that.
It's a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to using that as a way to have something to enable to engage and initiate that contact and push that out there and reach out to those property owners and the tenants along 129. And I've already started reaching out to the larger real estate brokers in town, and been working with Stubblebine and Kalari, the same players that I've worked with prior to arriving here. So I'm just kind of re-engaging that in a different connection. So I am familiar with the challenges on putting that out there and
Yeah.
getting a new marketing and a branding campaign out there, and you have to believe in it yourself if you're going to go out there and
Right, and that was why
you
they,
have to have
right, and that was why they
in
wanted to
your-
have the development
Yes,
director there
yeah.
when it got finalized.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
That's got to come from
It's
from
been
your
it's been
own.
trying to be worked in so many different ways, but there hasn't
Yeah.
been a definitive
Yeah.
person
What do
as
you
a
want to be known for?
center of it
Yeah.
to bring everything together and make it happen.
Yeah,
So
I'm ready.
Good.
Yeah.
As I saw the selectmen's meeting, and Pat said she's got high expectations.
She did say that. That was the only words, and I was like, okay,
So
got
here
it.
comes the sweat.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
But you've had
all
another
expected.
opportunity. I mean, you met John Harrington, who's the director of
Yes,
the
I
Chelmsford,
did.
executive
Yeah.
director of the Chelmsford Business Association.
Yeah.
You've met Donald Van Dyne, the
I
chair
have.
of the Economic Development Commission. Obviously, you've had a chance to meet with the selectmen, obviously, as Colleen just noted the other evening.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like I said, the mosaic sort of forms over time.
Yes,
Right.
yeah. And the
Good
department heads
experiences.
have been great too. It's only been, again, four work days, but
Yeah.
I've got a lot of their names down. They come in, it's that interaction that happens all the time. So it's a great team of people, and I'm just happy to be a part of it, and I'm excited to get started. So,
I mean, the good thing is the zoning is in place. I mean, that was the big effort
Yeah,
with the
the big
master
stuff is
planning
there.
and the big
Yeah, that took a
place.
while to get
So
in
you're,
place, but
you're sort of just in time now as we're sort of getting ready to launch in terms of introducing amenities to the 129 corridor, which is sort of the whole idea of expanding the commercial tax base.
Correct. And then there's, Evan has been working with the real estate people. I mean, these buildings are owned by entities far away, so the real estate brokers are looking to keep them filled, but it's just, it's
It's
been
the
worked and
communication
worked, and it's,
channels and-
it needs help.
Yeah,
It needs, there's openings there, but so
yeah.
that's where you get in and start finding who wants to be
Yes,
here and what
right.
can we bring in, and
Evan and I, we met with the new project engineer, I guess you will, on Omniway for 2 Omniway and 4 Omniway.
Okay.
And we met with him, and we're learning more about what their plans are for the buildings and the tenants that they have lined up. So they'll start to see some major renovations happen over there.
Yeah,
So-
probably the most notable one being Lifelinks. People are familiar. They're currently on
Yes.
Mill Road.
that's always been an issue.
And that's been an issue with
Yeah.
the,
to
the
yeah, 'cause
buses
there's a
lining up
neighborhood
there.
down there,
Yes.
and the buses have just, it's just always been one of those, and that can be a fast road,
Yeah. Evan had an excellent recommendation to the project engineer that when they do prepare the building for Lifeline to come in, that the staging of the transportation should be on the property, because, it may not
We've seen
need-
when it wasn't on
Yeah.
Mill
Yeah,
Road.
need
I
a
think
lot
that
of
was the
daytime.
general assumption back in the day.
They
The
made-
reality is a little
made a
different.
strong point of it, and
Yeah.
they were very welcoming for that. So there'll definitely be some corrective action in that way when they move out of there. So.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
going to be, I
progress
think I
is
said,
good.
well received on Mill Road and well received
Right.
for those buildings that have sat vacant for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then they also have other tenants for the other buildings.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
It's been quite, and then the good thing is you'll now have to address how you fill the space where Lifelinks currently is on Mill
Right,
Road.
right. That's,
Right.
that's
Still a
the
good
shell
spot.
game a little bit, right?
Yeah, although most of
Yeah,
the
just
tenants
keep
coming
going
in on
up.
Omniway are coming in from out of town.
Yeah,
And,
which is great.
Exactly.
It's great.
So, I mean,
That's
it's
good.
a net plus. I know there's company coming over from Littleton and
Mm-hmm.
such. And then obviously we're into the discussions, because Colleen knows a lot of this because she sits on the, with the planning board.
Right.
The where redevelopment, like where Mercury Computer was
Mm-hmm.
on River Neck Road, which we understand will be a housing.
Yes,
And again,
yes.
it's part of that whole idea of the live, work, play, the
Right.
building,
Right.
for the new generation.
Yeah.
And frankly, in my opinion, that Mercury area is perfect because it's right across the street from a neighborhood that's been there.
Yes.
And back when they zoned that whole area for industrial, they were already there. So now they
Right,
have
right.
industrial zoning. It's all pre-existing non-conforming. They come in to do a garage, and what they thought they had is completely different. So,
Yeah.
but it'll be nice to have more, more of the same thing. It's kind of like, the corridor on 110 was all business zoned. It was commercial business.
Right.
And what we've found is that it's becoming more and more residential. So until you get to Westford, it's really more residential than it is commercial along that road.
Right.
So it's residential's big right now,
Yeah,
multifamily.
yeah,
They're saying this
yeah.
year is going to be really big for the millennials buying houses.
Yeah.
So,
You can see all that happening out there.
but then they
There's a
want
lot
to
of
work here
workforce.
too, so that's your
Well,
job.
that's what happens. You need the workforce housing when you bring in the businesses. They want to have that. They don't want to be driving an hour.
Well, it's nice
2
you say that
hours.
because that's one of the questions is
It's
why are we,
important. It's
we did this whole thing for 129 and why is it all housing now?
Right.
Well, that's the first thing that comes in to support.
Well,
You're not going to,
You need that diversity. You don't want it to be all manufacturing or 24-hour operations happening. You don't want it to all be housing.
Right.
You don't want it to all be one or the other. You need to have that,
But that was the 80s zone, 1980s zoning that
Yes.
most people in town grew up with.
Right.
You had your residential area,
The
then you
golden
had
triangle.
you had your commercial area, you had your retail area, and they should all stay apart.
Right,
And
right.
now, of course,
So-
it's live, work, play
Right,
together. And,
right.
and obviously Boston being the strongest example here about just the massive influx of apartments and housing, particularly in the Seaport District. The
Yeah.
idea of
Yeah. Right.
residential buildings in with commercial, and
Yeah.
and sometimes in the same building. So
Exactly.
you don't even have to leave the building anymore.
Right.
Some of those
Exactly.
places you go downstairs
We have
to a
like that
restaurant.
old school remnant of that in the center where there's shops and then housing above.
Yes, yeah,
But in our
which is
zoning, back in the time when we wanted to keep everything separate, that was no longer promoted.
Yeah,
you know?
right, right. It
So
wasn't
we're kind of taking a
encouraged.
step back, but in a different scale.
Right, right.
So-
yeah, it's all about quality of life.
Yes.
And enjoying what you do.
Yeah.
And enjoying your time in your community.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to, be able to just step outside and be a part of some services or amenities or coffee shop
Mm-hmm.
or,
The bike path is a
the
huge
bike
one.
path is great.
They like to. I know people that bike to work, and
Yeah.
since that has opened up, we've had a lot more. We need more parking for the people coming in. Westford sends them to Chelmsford, and so
And when
there's no
the,
parking here.
and when the expansion opens this summer, it'll get you all the way down towards Concord. So it's
Yeah.
Wow.
that's really going to be. I think you'll start seeing that how
Yeah.
popular.
It really is. So it's a huge benefit for the town.
It really is. It's important for young families too to have a safe area. Leominster just bought a rail trail section too, so we just went through that, familiar with that and the importance of what it brings, and especially for you, it comes right through your downtown.
Right.
But
But then it also goes through a lot of backyards.
and then you get that country feel to
Yeah.
it, where
Yeah.
Exactly.
that's the experience of it. Yeah, and you own your own ice skating rink.
Yeah,
still?
we're purchasing the Forum. Yeah,
Yes,
right at the
yeah.
129 Route 3 intersection. Yeah, the Forum.
I saw it the other day.
So that, yeah,
Yeah, Evan brought me by. Yeah.
there's a lot going on.
Good.
And that's
We-
where the buses used to park, right?
Yeah, the buses are still there, but they'll be should
They'll
be
be
moving
shipping over to Katrina?
Yeah,
Okay.
in the year ahead. So we've got 2 minutes left in our
Oh my
program.
gosh, okay.
So are there any, I just want to know. I tell you that because I want to know if there's anything you want to talk about or touch upon before we finish. Wrap
Mostly, I
up.
just want to encourage people to keep contacting me and reaching out to me. I'm at Town Hall in room 206. And my direct number, 978-735-3324. If I said that too fast, but that's fine. And
That's okay.
you can reach me through the town manager's office, obviously.
You're on
You have
the
email.
website.
You have
I have
email. The
email,
standard
yeah,
town email
yeah.
address.
She's listed
Right.
on the town website
On the
as a
website,
contact, so there
just
you go.
everyone can just reach out to me, and it doesn't matter if it's a small business owner or a large property or anything. I'm just here to support all of that economic development here and to help fill up empty space, and also certainly to support the existing businesses with whatever they may need. If it's workforce development, training grants, or I'm familiar with those things and resources for that. And we've done a lot of tax incentives in Leominster too. So I'd just like to have any conversation.
Because a big part of it is
Yeah.
retention. I think so
Right.
often
Yes,
we
it's
focus
very
on bringing the
important.
next person in, but
Right.
you want to keep the current
You gotta
people
keep them,
satisfied,
you know.
and because often these are tenants, and so when their leases come up for renewal,
Right.
you want to make sure, hey, stay in
Yeah.
Chelmsford as opposed to relocate,
gotta be
in a
there.
nearby community or elsewhere.
Right.
Exactly, and not be threatened by new things that are coming in. You want to have the
Right.
support to stay.
Yeah, just to keep that open dialogue and that open communication where, I just want to be as accessible as possible to any business owners or tenants or potential property owners. So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts, Colleen, in our last
No,
half a
I think
minute?
I think so far,
Okay.
she's a wonderful woman, and
Thank you.
I think that she's got the right idea. She's sitting back and taking it all in, and with your experience, I think you're bound to be very
Okay,
successful.
great.
So
Excellent.
got a
Thank
lot
you
of
so
faith in
much.
you.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, again, welcome again, Lisa, to the
Thank you.
community, and
Thanks so
we look
much.
forward to your efforts in the years to come. And Colleen, thank you again for
No
co-hosting
problem.
this month. And again, thank you, folks. Enjoy the winter season, and we'll be back next month with a different program.
enjoy the heat wave.
Yeah.